everyone, and welcome to this latest episode of Inspired Coach. We have another wonderful inspirational interview ahead for you today with the incredible Sharyn Holmes, winner of the Spirit Scholarship. Sharyn is an award-winning coach, writer, speaker, artist, and not-for-profit worker. Their work dives deep into social justice, spirituality, and personal sovereignty. Sharyn is also a multi-passionate artist and creative spirit who believes in living with full expression and joyfully creating with passion, play, and purpose. Well, this interview has been coming for many years. The Spirit Scholarship is a combined collaboration between the beautiful You Coaching Academy and the wonderful folks at The Kind Press. Our desire with this collaboration was to provide a scholarship to ensure that more books landed on shelves that were written by authors who identified as Black, Brown, Indigenous, a person of colour. Sharyn was the person who submitted the winning submission for that scholarship from a truly incredible field of beautiful You trainees and coaches. And in this episode today, Sharyn is going to be sharing about their journey of finding out what it was like to get that email saying you're going to be a published author, to writing their book, which has now been released and called Becoming Gutsy and Formidable, One Life Out Loud. This is a truly incredible hybrid book of both memoir and self-help that offers a deep call of action for us all to become better human beings. I could not think of a more incredible reason to buy a book than that. Enjoy this amazing interview with Sharyn ahead. Sharyn Holmes, it is such a joy to have you on Inspired Coach podcast today. Welcome to you.
Well, thank you, Julie. It's really wonderful to get to have this chat with you today.
I have been so looking forward to this, Sharyn, and I have known that in some form or another, this interview or conversation with you has been floating in my heart for many years.
I know, long awaited, I know, a long time.
Yeah, it certainly has been a long time. And so let's give everyone listening some context. We are here to talk about your very newly released book, Becoming Gutsy and Formidable, One Life Out Loud. And this book is a result of you winning the Spirit Scholarship, which was a partnership between the beautiful You Coaching Academy, of which you are a very treasured graduate and alumni member, and the wonderful publishing company, The Kind Press. You were the winner in a competitive, highly competitive process of that scholarship to win this publishing contract to publish a book. And I just want to start out by asking you to cast your memory back, Sharyn. What was it like for you to get that email that said you have won this scholarship, you are going to be a published author?
Oh, I feel overwhelmed just thinking about it, actually. It was a long-awaited dream. I wanted to write a book, become an author since I was 15. And I had the bones of a book for about 3 years before I won the Spirit Scholarship. And it was going to be a very different book to what ended up being submitted for the scholarship. And it wasn't until the Spirit Scholarship came up that I landed on a title for the book. And it has been quite a journey in terms of writing it. What do I want to say? What do I want to make sure I express? What do I not want to leave out? And I feel like I've really achieved that with this book, and I'm really proud of it. And in a lot of ways, it feels like it's been a long road, but it's been a road that has provided many adventures for me, just in terms of getting to know myself even better, getting to dive more deeply into my story, and I guess excavate things that I really wanted people to know. I wrote the book not just for myself. I wrote it because there are a lot of us that feel silence, that we never get to feel like we are heard. We never receive opportunities to be heard. And being able to write this book touches all of those points, and has enabled me to hopefully empower others to believe in their stories, no matter what their story is. You don't have to be famous or rich or successful in a traditional sense to publish a book or to write a book, and to feel that confidence and have that courage to do so.
And you know what, Sharyn, you are 100% correct when you say that this book is gutsy, and it is filled with so much richness and so many incredible stories. Like, it is hard to, you know, even know where to begin, to tell you the truth. And I do want to pull forth some more from there, but I'd like to pick up on something that you said, which I think is really important, because you won the Spirit Scholarship a number of years ago now, and it's now, 2023, and you have gone on a journey, and so has this book. It's almost like there's been parallel journeys happening in so many different ways, because as you mentioned, the book that you initially thought you were going to write has not ended up being what has fully come forth. So tell us, why was the change necessary? Because even that in and of itself was a gutsy move. It's like, no, it needs to go in another direction. Tell us about that change. Why and how did that come about?
When I first began compiling what I thought would be the book, years before the Spirit Scholarship was announced, a few years before I became a graduate of Beautiful You Coaching Academy, the book felt at the time to be more of one of accepting my story and being able to write those stories down. So that power was there. That was the foundation of it. But it felt like I didn't have all of the elements in order to be able to tell the story I wanted to tell, in order for the reader to get what I hope they will receive from it. So prior to that, the book was going to be more of a personal undertaking, something where I got to process and to a certain degree relive things in order to process and move forward from them. And whilst those things still happened during this process, I didn't feel like the book was ready until I underwent like a whole bunch of different things. And by the time the Spirit Scholarship was announced, I wasn't even sure that I was going to submit, because I didn't know if I had enough. I didn't feel like I had processed enough in order to create and share a good story or good series of stories. But I feel like now that I'm in midlife, this is a really great turning point and a new beginning to check in on what my story is going to be for the next however many decades moving forward. And so this book is kind of like an ending and a beginning for me. It's like I've processed, 45 years of life. I turned 47 this year, so the book was really about like the last 46 years of my life. And now moving forward, it's like, well, how can I use my book with all of the pillars and principles and ethics and beliefs in there to craft the life that I never thought I deserved to have. Whereas now I feel like I deserve to tell my story, as we all should feel. I deserve to be able to reach my biggest goal, which is to become an author. It's a small goal maybe for others, but for me it's really, really huge, because when you're sharing so much personal stuff in a book, there is always that little voice that says, do you want to censor yourself? And for me, I don't want to censor myself. I don't want to censor myself in any way with my feelings, my thoughts, my story. So I wanted to bring the best of myself to the book. And I've done that. And so that feels complete. So for me, the whole journey of becoming is what's next. It doesn't end with achieving a goal or becoming an author. It's a beginning. It's a beginning. What can I do with my life next? How can I positively influence others through the process of writing and share that incredible joy that writing brings? Like, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about and feeling, I'm feeling the goosebumps right now, about how like bringing your story forward can be so healing. And I haven't actually processed yet the healing part of writing this book and completing it. Maybe that'll be something in the next 6 or 12 months or even longer, because for me, it's the expression part that really needed to come out in order to complete the book in the first place. And then from there, how can I engage with others and share my story and hear their stories as well?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharyn. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about is the very real and extraordinary and positive impact that I know this book has the power to have on other people. But I'd love to ask you to share with everyone, because there are many, many of them in this wonderful book. Can you share with us all a story that you included in Becoming Gutsy and Formidable that was really challenging for you to bring forth, but you just knew, as this human being that did not want to censor thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences, you just had to tell? It was one that was just imperative for the heart and soul of the book to come forth.
That's a really big question. I think I will start with and share that the hardest story to write, the hardest story to tell, the story that very few people in my life know about or even know about now. And that's, it's named in the book, Red Jumper, Blue Jeans. And that's a story of trauma from my teenage years. And it really set the tone for so many misdirections and obstacles in relationships and friendships, and trust in others. And it's a trauma story. So it's not easy to go back and share a story of that nature, because that requires reliving it. And so when I did write that story, it came to me quite late one night. It would have been November 2021, I think it was. So, you know, I'd won the Spirit Scholarship just over a year prior to that. And the story was really, it really stretched me to come out. And as anyone knows who's written a book, the book guides you. You can put in place the chapter outline. You can have a whole like list of things that you want to include, but the book has a soul of its own. It's like Natasha Gilmore said, it's an oracle. It's like the book guided me, and the book also delayed me. So bad book. But it just really guided me to share what I needed to share. And my story wouldn't be what it is without Red Jumper, Blue Jeans. And that's not to sort of put everything on one story in my life, on a few minutes of my life, but that's to say the impact of something that happens to us when we're young can have long-lasting effects if we don't feel safe or comfortable to talk about that or to seek help, or to even share that story. There are so many unspoken stories in the world, and I did not want my trauma story to be one of those. I wanted to tell my story so that others would find the bravery and courage in, through their silence, to then bring their story out. So for me, the book is, and the story that I'm mentioning, is about finding liberation through freeing up your voice, freeing up your expression, expressing yourself in whatever way you need to, whether that's through music or art or writing or journaling. You know, it's not necessarily the things that everyone or anyone would get to see. Sometimes it's what you write in private and what you create in private that provides you with the greatest foundation for success in terms of self-expression.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when I asked you that question, Sharyn, I wasn't quite sure which story you were going to bring forth, but thank you for bringing forth that one, because really there could have been, you know, so many of them that are so powerful and impactful. You have led a big life. You know, wow, you have led a very big and impactful life. And it's a life that I know through this book and also through your presence as well is just going to be so extraordinarily helpful and inspiring to so many other people. We don't necessarily set out in life for that to be the case, but sometimes our lived experiences bring those things forth. And this feels like a really perfect time, actually, Sharyn. I have the book here in front of me to mention something that I think there are so many potent things that I could bring forth from the book, but this was one that really stood out to me that I thought was really beautiful. You say in the book just this 4-word sentence: wholeness is a practice. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because boy, did I love that sentence in this book.
Wholeness is a practice. And it is. It's like so many things, but it, for me, has been like something I've really had to work really hard to believe in. You know, we can write affirmations, we can read them, but we don't necessarily get to feel them as deeply as we need to for the next stage. And for me, wholeness has been a practice, and it comes from feeling broken. It comes from scar tissue. It comes from being told on many occasions early on in my life, early, when I say early, I mean as a young adult, and not from family, but, you know, society, you know, what messages I take in, and then people that I've come across in my life that I'm useless or that I'm not worthy. And so it's hard to, I guess, say that the lesson of wholeness being a practice comes from a place of pain, but so many of the ways that we can learn about life and learn about ourselves come from our pain points. And they're usually the things that we don't want to face because they cause us extreme discomfort. And not all of us are equipped to deal with our emotions or even express or find the words for those things. So wholeness is a practice because it does take practice. And I can say now, having lived the life I've lived so far, and not every single story I wanted to share is in the book because I didn't know how to fit it in there. Wholeness starts with you. You can take in whatever external messages you like, be they positive or negative, but really wholeness has to begin with you, and it requires you to go really deep within yourself, about yourself. And it's an act which requires all of your attention. You know, to say that I feel whole, I truly do feel whole. Like, I can pinpoint external things that I would like to improve about my life, but the wholeness part, that's a me directed thing. You know, I'm the director of that. Only I get to choose. You know, I have to make choices and decisions every day to remind myself that no matter what I'm going through or how I'm feeling that particular day, hour, minute, second, I'm always whole, no matter what. No matter what people might say about me, or no matter what criticisms I might receive, I'm whole no matter what. And that's it. That's why the sentence is so short. Wholeness is a practice. And you can interpret that however you want.
Yeah. And you know what? That is such a personal call to action, Sharyn, which makes me want to share with everyone, as I am currently reading Becoming Gutsy and Formidable, that the entire book, in varying different ways, is a call to action. Yes, it is your personal collection of stories and your journey, but it is a call to action around areas of racism, culture, communication, feminism, gender identity, neurodivergence, respect for each other, so many different things. And this, I feel, I'm making an assumption, but I think it might be the right one, that that's deliberate on your behalf. Am I correct in saying that? That's a very
absolutely.
conscious thing, that you want people to feel ignited and feel called to action in those areas for themselves?
Yeah, and to feel like, you really do matter and you deserve to seek wholeness within yourself. Doesn't matter what's happening around you, to find that place within you, whether that be a feeling in your gut or a feeling in your heart, or, the feeling when you're like on solid ground that, you're right there and that you deserve to do what you need to do, and you deserve that attention on yourself. It's not a selfish act to focus on yourself to find wholeness. You need to focus on yourself to find wholeness. It doesn't come from the outside world, because the outside world is what's trying to stop you from feeling that wholeness largely every day.
Yep, absolutely. Between the advertising and the hierarchical workplaces and the patriarchy and all of the things, that we could go on and on about, there is a lot of money to be made in us feeling broken.
That's right.
And believing that we're broken and unwhole. It's like, buy this cream, fix yourself, or do this course and you'll be right, and all of those kinds of things. There is so many of that messaging. And so every time we can get to engage with a message like yours, we open up portals of healing for ourselves. And that's why this book is so powerful. Sharyn, what did you have as a dream or an idea in your mind that writing this book would be like, and what was the reality?
Unlike most things where I really overthink and try and figure and systems engineer everything and figure it all out, I just allowed the book. I just allowed it to be my guide. I allowed it to let me know when stories wanted to be written. And I had to feel every time I was going to write. I had no schedule. I tried to have an action list. I tried to have a calendar of when I would hit certain word counts in the writing process. And that sort of structure does not work for me. I cannot have a to-do list of how I'm going to express myself if I have a message that I want to share that is to help others. So for me, the reality was, let's just see how this goes and where it takes me. And it took me to a lot of places within myself, and I remembered a lot of things through the writing process that, had I just been journaling or creating art, I wouldn't have unlocked these stories. I wouldn't have remembered. So for me, the book unlocked for me what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. So those are very key to how I how I took the writing process, and I just sort of let it tell me where it wanted to go. And that sounds so weird, because how do you explain what that means, to allow this not quite tangible object to guide you? I guess it's just like another dimension of emotion, another dimension of feeling that I was guided by. I've learned more about my traits and myself over the last 18 months in particular. And so I found that, yes, I can work under pressure. Yes, I can work to a deadline. But when it comes to writing and expression, that's not something that can be forced or timetabled. I had to just let it be. So the writing process, during the whole process from start to finish, was when I didn't write my submission for Spirit Scholarship, what I actually submitted, the chapter on Gutsy Leadership, until submissions had opened. And at that time, I wasn't sure if I was going to submit. I wasn't sure if I would have enough words, if my synopsis was right, because I had already changed my chapter outline from the first time I did a chapter outline in 2017. So it was just that process of, let's just see what unfolds and what comes up. And it's sometimes we don't allow ourselves time, like we feel rushed, but I hope that when someone reads the book, they can see that I've really invested time and some serious levels of patience with myself in order to say what I wanted to say. And so much of the book was written over the last couple of years as I began to process everything, processing 45 years of a life and trying to condense the most important parts, the most important lessons for the reader into like an inch or so thick book is not an easy undertaking. And I got to a point where I was thinking, I got to about the 30,000 word point, and I was thinking, what else what more can I say? And the time and patience I allowed myself, with the book being my guide, helped that kind of come through. So I could never plan what I was going to write. I just had to feel it and use whatever tools were available to me to unlock that. And as you'll find in the book, music is a huge part of my journey. As a listener, I used to play instruments when I was in high school. I don't now, but just sometimes it's the poetry and words of others that can help us move through what we need to in order to express ourselves when we don't necessarily have the language with us already. So I listened to a lot of my favorite music through the ages, through the decades, just so that I could trigger memory or trigger feeling or remember stories. And that helped unlock. Sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's the way an instrument sounds, sometimes it's the way that a singer vocalizes that unlocks. Like there is no like recipe for how am I going to tell the next story. It's like I listen, I wait, and then I just see what happens.
An amazing process, and one I think is so important for anybody that has a dream to write a book to hear, that there's no one pathway. There are other people that are able to work very clearly to deadlines, but the thought of surrendering, to the creative process like the way that you're describing would not work for them at all. And there's just no one way to do these things. Something I want everyone to know about this book, Sharyn, is that it is not just a memoir, and inverted commas, just. It is not just a memoir. It is also a self-help book. It is also that call to action that we were talking about before. And one of the ways that you bring that forth, I feel, really, really powerfully, is that the book has a lot of truly incredible reflective questions throughout it. Can you tell us, why was it important for you to include those questions and really get the reader to turn to themselves and deeply think about what it was that you had just shared in a particular chapter and what you were then guiding them to now look in themselves?
I guess I'm a very curious person, and so questions form a very big part of how I've been able to answer myself through self-awareness. So the reflection questions are there to help people unlock, because sometimes you don't know what the answer is until you have the right question asked of you. And so that's why some chapters have like a lot of questions, questions that maybe you've asked yourself before but didn't have a context of another story, another person's story to think about your own, because there's always such a rush these days to not think about yourself, not center yourself, not process your emotions, or to diminish your responses and your emotions. So the questions are about unlocking what's in you. In what ways are you becoming? Have you thought about these things? Just to go a bit deeper. So it's not just a memoir, as you say. It's like, I can share my story, but that's an example of what I've experienced. All of the questions in the book are questions I've asked myself. And I probably could have asked even more questions. And then maybe I will ask people more questions as time moves forward. But the questions are there because it's not easy for people to dive in deep and really think through and express themselves. And I've had conversations recently with people in my life about, me I'm a curious person. I ask questions because I want to know more. And it's not like I'm like Gollum of knowledge or wisdom, like that I'm like stockpiling. I ask questions because it helps me help others better. And so the questions I'm trying to help people guide themselves to themselves if they don't know what question to ask or what an answer to a feeling or emotion is. And you can find that through music. You can find that through art. You can find it by going into yourself and serving yourself to then find out what the answer is. You know, how might you next progress to the next thing if you're feeling like you're in a rut or you're stuck or you're not sure where to go or who to go to. And I find that the best journey for me has been to ask questions of myself. I don't usually ask people questions I haven't already unlocked and asked of myself first. Because, like, you know, you've got to test yourself. Like, it's a bit of, I'm an experimental playground. Like, I like to figure things out within myself. And then I feel like I can better support others through questions. And having led circles over like a 5-year period, and I don't do those now, there's always a lot of questions. And sometimes it's asking the right question that helps someone find wholeness in themselves or to find acceptance in themselves, or to go externally and seek support where maybe they never felt like they could before.
Yes, well, it's one of my most favourite parts of the book. I think the questions, and that's coming from a coach and a coach trainer. You know, we love questions.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the right question at the right time can be absolutely life-changing for someone. And I think that this book is filled with so many brilliant and wonderful questions. Sharyn, congratulations on Becoming Gutsy and Formidable. It is a truly raw, vulnerable, beautiful, inspiring read. You are a published author. How absolutely amazing. And and on behalf of us all actually here at the Academy, and I know this wonderful partnership with the Kind Press, we just wish you the very, very best with this book and hope that it just touches and reaches so many people and their lives moving forward. Well done.
Thank you so much, Julie. And I just want to say thank you to you and the Academy, Natasha Gilmore and the Kind Press, because without your collaboration, I'm not sure if this book would have come out at all, to be honest. And what I learned through being a graduate and a trainee at Biker was just to go after my dreams, you know, to really dive deep and understand myself better. And that sort of helped me believe in myself just enough to submit my submission in the first place. And it, you know, we can have our own little story. We can try and do things on our own, but we work best in community. And the encouragement I've received from you particularly, it's always in the back of my mind, you know. Yeah, what would Julie do?
My husband sometimes says to me that he asks himself that question. What would Jules do?
Yeah. Well, you've been,
Sharyn,
such a guiding light.
Well, that's a beautiful thing for you to say and share, and thank you. And I am so glad in whatever way that this Academy and community has been just a small catalyst for you. I'm so glad that it was just enough. The encouragement was just enough for you to submit, because this is truly a beautiful, amazing book that you should be so proud of. And I would like to finish our interview today by just sharing some words from Becoming Gutsy and Formidable by Sharyn with you all. There are many, many passages in the book that I could have chosen. And this is the one that landed with me this morning before we came together today. You don't have to be anyone but yourself. Discovering who you are is your mission if you desire to take this one life of yours and live it out loud. You don't have to squeeze yourself into little categories or boxes or change who you are to be heard, seen, or to matter. People will dislike you anyway, so do you and expand, I say. You already do matter. You are already worthy. Thank you and congratulations, Sharyn. Wishing you all the best for becoming gutsy and formidable. Everyone, this is a divine and amazing book. I highly recommend that you get a copy on your bookshelf very soon.